All right, good afternoon, boys and girls. Oh, wow, what just happened there? Okay, let's go back all the way back. Sorry. We are on lesson 44, measuring lengths with a ruler. Um, that just threw me all the way off. Anyway, let's go to our objectives. We are going to be able to convert centimeters to millimeters and vice versa. Um, though we should be able to use a metric ruler to measure lengths of centimeters and millimeters. Use a inch ruler to measure lengths to the nearest eighth of an inch and round a given measure to the nearest half inch. Okay, here's your joke of the day. Feel free to read and laugh. All right, here is our vocabulary for the day. There's a couple of them that you guys need to write down. Um, you're definitely going to need to use the back of your paper to write these vocabulary words down. Um, they're very important, so go ahead and get those down. All right, your new concept for today. You might have a ruler at your desk that has both a centimeter scale and an inch scale. We're going to practice using both scales in this lesson to measure length. Basically, like you wrote down, length is a measure of the distance between 2 points. On the so on this page, or right here, we have what we have is the inch ruler, and then on this side we have a centimeter ruler. And the centimeter scale is divided into segments 1 centimeters long, as you can see. They're divided by 1 centimeters. And we're going to notice that you could count these little lines in between the ones and the 1, 2 in between, that there's 10 lines that go from the first one here, say you start at 2, and then we go 1, 2, 3, and then all the way to 10, which would go to the 3. So each metric ruler is divided by tens. Okay. Um, so if we go and measure this arrow, we see that let's just say it's at we're going to measure to where this point is right here of the arrow. Okay. And what we find is that that point lands one at 10 centimeters, but also if you count this all the way down, that's gonna be 100 centimeters. Okay, so if you can, 100 millimeters. So in between from here, from this 0 point to here, there's 100 little dash marks, and these little dash marks are um, are millimeters. Okay, and in between each one, there's 10 of them. So from one here, this would be 10 millimeters, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and so on. Okay, so right here, the arrow is at 10 centimeters. It would be at 100 millimeters. So the distance across a nickel is about 2 centimeters. 2 centimeters is about how many millimeters? Remember, let's go back to this ruler. If you have a ruler at home, you could look at your own ruler. If this is 2 centimeters, this is the distance across a nickel. So they're asking about how many millimeters that is. So remember, each centimeter there's 10. Okay, so if we do 10, 20, we find that the nickel is 10 millimeters across. Okay, excuse me, did I say 10? 20 millimeters across. All right, let's go back to your example. So what in length in millimeters of 10 nickels placed from end to end? So if we were to put 10 nickels all the way across the paper, it would be 200 millimeters. Pretty basic. Okay, so what is the length of this rectangle below? Basically, what you're going to do is you start from the 0, go all the way down to where this is. And remember, for the metric system, everything goes by tens. So there's 10 little hash marks in between here in millimeters. Okay, so from here to here would be 25. Okay, there are tick marks on the scale to mark each millimeter. Notice a tick mark for every 5th and 10th millimeter are lengthened to make the scale easier to read. We read that the rectangle's length is 20 meters plus 5 more millimeters, which is 25 millimeters. What they're saying here is these little tick marks here help you read the ruler. Okay, these tell you that there's every 5 for the metric system. Okay, let's go ahead and move on. Before we go to this example, I kind of want to go over the difference between inches and the metric system. Okay, internationally, the metric system is known as the International System of Units, and they use things based on 10, on tens, okay, on the power of 10. So a centimeter is 1/100th of a meter. So we look at meters, and in 1 meter is a meter is about equivalent to our yard, just about a little bit more. Okay, so in 1 meter there is 100 centimeters. Okay, and in a millimeter we have 1,000. And I want you guys to recognize centi, like the word cent, just like century means 100. Okay, so it's 1/100, and milli, just like millennium, is 1,000. Okay, so a millimeter is 1/1000th of a meter. Okay, they're all related with 10. Okay, now in the U.S. And the U.S. is probably the only country, except maybe a couple more countries, that use the U.S. customary system, is based on 12. Okay, yeah, on inches. So and feet. So every foot there's 12 inches. Okay, and our major one, like that matches the meter, is the yard, which is 3 feet equals 1 yard. And 5,280 feet equals 1 mile. So we use, in the U.S. customary system, we use inches, feet, yards, and miles. Inches usually are not divided into tenths. Rather, they're divided into halves, fourths, eighths, sixteenths, and so on. When we abbreviate the word inch, we use IN. And see, if you look at this ruler, it's divided up, the inches divided up into different parts, right? If we count this, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 marks. Okay, most rulers are divided into sixteenths. Okay, so if you were here, you would be 2 out of 16ths, or 16. That would be your fraction, 2/16 of an inch. We have about, all right, and what we're going to do in this lesson is we're going to be going over eighths. Okay, and so in example number 3, that's what I want you to look at right now. The marks on this ruler are in eighths. Okay, so when we measure this arrow, we have 2 and 1, 2, 3, 4 eighths. Okay, you just have to look at the ruler to make sure what the marks are. Now 4 eighths can be reduced to 2.5, or you could tell this is the middle and just know that's 2.5. Okay, so that's example number 3. Example number 4, a mangrove skipper butterfly has a wingspan of 2 3/4 inches. Is 2 3/4 closer to 2 inches or 3 inches? So what you're going to look at is you go to look at a ruler. In fact, you can go back to this one and figure out if the butterfly is closer to 2 3/4 inches, or if 2 3/4 inches is closer to 2 or 3. Okay, something you don't really actually need to use a ruler for that. You could probably figure that out. And then last but not least is your lesson practice. So there's a lot tonight. Good luck. You have A through 0. Um, if you don't have a ruler with you, um, you can do that before class, okay? So if you have any questions, feel free to put them on the back of the sheet of paper. Thank you so much and have a great night doing homework.